a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code is a section of the Indian Penal Code introduced in 1864 during the British rule of India. Modelled on the Buggery Act of 1533, it is used to criminalize sexual activities against the order of nature. On 6 September 2018, the Supreme Court of India decided to announce that the application of Section 377 to consensual homosexual sex between adults was unconstitutional, irrational, indefensible and manifestly arbitrary. But that Section 377 remains in force relating to sex with minors, non-consensual sexual acts, and bestiality. Portions of the section were first struck down as unconstitutional with respect to gay sex by the Delhi High Court in July 2009. That judgment was overturned by the Supreme Court of India on the 11th of December 2013 in Suresh Kumar Koushal vs. Naz Foundation. The court held that amending or repealing Section 377 should be a matter left to Parliament, not the judiciary. On 6 February 2016, a three-member bench of the court reviewed curative petitions submitted by the Naz Foundation and others, and decided that they would be reviewed by a five-member constitutional bench. On 24 August 2017, the Supreme Court upheld the right to privacy as a fundamental right under the Constitution in the landmark Puttaswamy judgment. The court also called for equality and condemned discrimination, stated that the protection of sexual orientation lies at the core of the fundamental rights and that the rights of the LGBT population are real and founded on constitutional doctrine. This judgment was believed to imply the unconstitutionality of Section 377. In January 2018, the Supreme Court agreed to hear a petition to revisit the 2013 Naz Foundation judgment. On 6 September 2018, the court ruled unanimously in Navtej Singh Johar v. Union of India that Section 377 was unconstitutional, insofar as it criminalizes consensual sexual conduct between adults of the same sex. Support. In 2008, Additional Solicitor General P.P. Malhotra said, "Homosexuality is a social vice and the state has the power to contain it. Decriminalizing homosexuality may create a breach of peace. If it is allowed, then the evil of AIDS and HIV would further spread and harm the people. It would lead to a big health hazard and degrade moral values of society." This view was shared by the Home Ministry. The 11th of December 2013 judgment of the Supreme Court, upholding Section 377, was met with support from religious leaders. The Daily News and Analysis called it the univocal unity of religious leaders in expressing their homophobic attitude. Usually divisive and almost always seen tearing down each other's religious beliefs. Leaders across sections came forward in decrying homosexuality and expressing their solidarity with the judgment. The Daily News and Analysis article added that Baba Ramdev, India's well-known yoga guru, after praying that journalists not turn homosexual, stated he could cure homosexuality through yoga and called it a bad addiction. The Vishwa Hindu Parishad's Vice President Om Prakash Singhal said, "This is a right decision, we welcome it. Homosexuality is against Indian culture, against nature and against science. We are regressing, going back to when we were almost like animals. The SC had protected our culture." The article states that Singhal further went to dismiss HIV/AIDS concerns within the LGBT community as, "It is understood that when you try to suppress one anomaly, there will be a breakout of a few more." Maulana Madni of the Jamiat Ulama echoes this in the article, stating that homosexuality is a crime according to scriptures and is unnatural. People cannot consider themselves to be exclusive of a society. In a society, a family is made up of a man and a woman, not a woman and a woman, or a man and a man. Rabbi Ezekiel Isaac Malika, honorary secretary of the Judaism Synagogue, in upholding the judgment, was also quoted as saying, "In Judaism, our scriptures do not permit homosexuality." Reverend Paul Swarup of the Cathedral Church of the Redemption in Delhi, in stating his views on what he believes to be the unnaturalness of homosexuality, stated, "Spiritually, Human sexual relations are identified as those shared by a man and a woman. The Supreme Court's view is an endorsement of our scriptures. Opposition and criticism. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare opposed the upholding of Section 377, stating that it would hinder anti-HIV/AIDS efforts. According to the NCRB, in 2015, 1,491 people were arrested under Section 377, including 207 minors and 16 women. Human Rights Watch also argues that the law has been used to harass HIV/AIDS prevention efforts, as well as sex workers, homosexuals, and other groups at risk of the disease, even though those found guilty of extortion in relation to accusations that relate to Section 377 may face a life sentence under a special provision of Section 389 of the IPC. The People's Union for Civil Liberties has published 2 reports of the rights violations faced by sexual minorities and, in particular, transsexuals in India. In 2006 it came under criticism from 100 Indian literary figures, most prominently Vikram Seth. The law subsequently came in for criticism from several ministers, most prominently Anbumani Ramadas and Oscar Fernandez. In 2008, a judge of the Bombay High Court also called for the scrapping of the law. The United Nations said that the ban violates international law. United Nations Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay stated that criminalizing private, consensual same-sex sexual conduct violates the rights to privacy and to non-discrimination enshrined in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which India has ratified, and that the decision represents a significant step backwards for India and a blow for human rights, voicing hope that the court might exercise its review procedure. Support. Rajnath Singh, a member of the ruling party BJP and the Home Minister, is on record shortly after the law was reinstated in 2013, claiming that his party is, unambiguously, in favour of the law, also claiming that, "We will state that we support Section 377, because we believe that homosexuality is an unnatural act and cannot be supported." Yogi Adityanath, BJP MP, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, endorsed Radhav's comments, saying he welcomes the verdict and will oppose any move to decriminalize homosexuality. The Samajwadi Party made it clear that it will oppose any amendments to the section if it comes in Parliament for discussion, calling homosexuality unethical and immoral. Ram Gopal Yadav stated that they support the Supreme Court decision as it is completely against the culture of our nation. The Congress party-led UP government also supported the law during the initial Naz Foundation case, stating that gay sex was immoral and that it cannot be decriminalized. Opposition. Finance Minister and BJP member Arun Jaitley has a different view from Rajnath Singh, saying that Supreme Court should not have reversed the Delhi High Court order which decriminalized consensual sex between gay adults. And, when millions of people the world over are having alternative sexual preferences, it is too late in the day to propound the view that they should be jailed. BJP spokesperson Shaina North Carolina said her party supports decriminalization of homosexuality. "We are for decriminalizing homosexuality. That is the progressive way forward." In December 2013, Indian National Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi came out in support of LGBT rights and said that every individual had the right to choose. He also said, "These are personal choices. This country is known for its freedom of expression. So let that be." I hope that Parliament will address the issue and uphold the constitutional guarantee of life and liberty to all citizens of India, including those directly affected by the judgment, he said. The LGBT rights movement in India was also part of the election manifesto of the Congress for the 2014 general elections. Senior Congress leader and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram expressed his disappointment, saying, "We have gone back in time and must quickly reverse the judgment." He also said that Section 377, in my view, was rightly struck down or read down by the Delhi High Court judgment by Justice A.P. Shah. The RSS revised its position, the leader Dr. Treya reportedly saying, "No criminalization, but no glorification either." After the 2013 verdict, the Aam Aadmi Party put on their website, "The Aam Aadmi Party is disappointed with the judgment of the Supreme Court upholding the Section 377 of the IPC and reversing the landmark judgment of the Delhi High Court on the subject. The Supreme Court judgment thus criminalizes the personal behavior of consenting adults. All those who are born with or choose a different sexual orientation would thus be placed at the mercy of the police. This not only violates the human rights of such individuals, but goes against the liberal values of our Constitution and the spirit of our times." Aam Aadmi Party hopes and expects that the Supreme Court will review this judgment and that the Parliament will also step in to repeal this archaic law. Brinda Karat of the Communist Party said the SC order was retrograde and that criminalizing alternative sexuality is wrong. Shivanan Tiwari, leader of Janata Dal United, did not support the Supreme Court decision, calling homosexuality practical and constitutional. He added that, "This happens in society and if people believe it is natural for them, why is the Supreme Court trying to stop them?" Derek O'Brien of the Trinamool Congress said that he is disappointed at a personal level and this is not expected in the liberal world we live in today. 2009 judgment. The movement to repeal Section 377 was initiated by AIDS Bhedbhav Virodhi Andolan in 1991. Their historic publication Less Than Gay, A Citizen's Report, spelled out the problems with 377 and asked for its repeal. A 1996 article in Economic and Political Weekly by Vimal Balasubramanian titled Gay Rights in India chronicles this early history. As the case prolonged over the years, it was revived in the next decade. Led by the Naz Foundation Trust, an activist group, which filed a public interest litigation in the Delhi High Court in 2001, seeking legalization of homosexual intercourse between consenting adults. The Naz Foundation worked with a legal team from the Lawyers Collective to engage in court. In 2003, the Delhi High Court refused to consider a petition regarding the legality of the law, saying that the petitioners had no locus standi in the matter. Since nobody had been prosecuted in the recent past under this section, it seemed unlikely that the section would be struck down as illegal by the Delhi High Court in the absence of a petitioner with standing. Naz Foundation appealed to the Supreme Court against the decision of the High Court to dismiss the petition on technical grounds. The Supreme Court decided that Naz Foundation had the standing to file appeal in this case, and sent the case back to the Delhi High Court to reconsider it on merit. Subsequently, there was a significant intervention in the case by a Delhi-based coalition of LGBT, women's, and human rights activists called Voices Against 377, which supported the demand to read down Section 377 to exclude adult consensual sex from within its purview. There was support from others like Sunil Mehra, a notable journalist. He was in a committed relationship with Karan Johar and drew from his personal experiences while protesting. Rita Dalmia also demonstrated keen activism. Aman Nath, a writer, historian, and hotelier, also fought for the decriminalization of Section 377. He had a relationship with Francis Waitesiag for 23 years until Waitesiag passed away. Aisha Kapoor acquired tremendous success within a decade of working in a nascent e-commerce sector. However, she left her job because she was afraid of people finding out about her sexuality. Over time, she gained the courage to come out and challenge Section 377. In May 2008, the case came up for hearing in the Delhi High Court, but the government was undecided on its position, with the Ministry of Home Affairs maintaining a contradictory position to that of the Ministry of Health on the issue of enforcement of Section 377 with respect to homosexuality. On the 7th of November 2008, the 7-year-old petition finished hearings. The Indian Health Ministry supported this petition, while the Home Ministry opposed such a move. On the 12th of June 2009, India's new Law Minister V.Appa Moily agreed that Section 377 might be outdated. Eventually, in a historic judgment delivered on the 2nd of July 2009, Delhi High Court overturned the 150-year-old section, legalizing consensual homosexual activities between adults. The essence of the section goes against the fundamental right of human citizens, stated the High Court while striking it down. In a 105-page judgment, a bench of Chief Justice Ajit Prakash Shah and Justice S. Muralidhar said that if not amended, Section 377 of the IPC would violate Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which states that every citizen has equal opportunity of life and is equal before law. The two-judge bench went on to hold that the court stated that the judgment would hold until Parliament chose to amend the law. However, the judgment keeps intact the provisions of Section 377 insofar as it applies to non-consensual non-vaginal intercourse and intercourse with minors. A batch of appeals were filed with the Supreme Court, challenging the Delhi High Court judgment. On the 27th of March 2012, the Supreme Court reserved verdict on these. After initially opposing the judgment, the Attorney General G.E. Vahanvati decided not to file any appeal against the Delhi High Court's verdict, stating, "Insofar as Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code criminalizes consensual sexual acts of adults in private, before it was struck down by the High Court, was imposed upon Indian society due to the moral views of the British rulers." Legislative action. On the 18th of December 2015, Lok Sabha member Shashi Tharoor of the Indian National Congress, whose leaders Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi had earlier expressed support for LGBT rights, introduced a private member's bill to replace Section 377 in the Indian Penal Code and decriminalize consensual same-sex relations. The bill was defeated in first reading, 71-24. For his part, Tharoor expressed surprise at the bill's rejection at this early stage. He said that he did not have time to rally support and that he will attempt to reintroduce the bill. In March 2016, Tharoor tried to reintroduce the private member's bill to decriminalize homosexuality, but was voted down for the second time. 2016 judgment. On the 2nd of February 2016, the final hearing of the curative petition submitted by the Naz Foundation and others came for hearing in the Supreme Court. The three-member bench headed by the Chief Justice of India T.S. Thakur said that all the 8 curative petitions submitted will be reviewed afresh by a 5-member constitutional bench. Right to privacy. On the 24th of August 2017, the Supreme Court of India held that the right to privacy is a fundamental right protected under Article 21 and Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. The judgment mentioned Section 377 as a discordant note which directly bears upon the evolution of the constitutional jurisprudence on the right to privacy. In the judgment delivered by the 9-judge bench, Justice Chandrachud held that the rationale behind the Suresh Kumar judgment is incorrect, and the judges clearly expressed their disagreement with it. Justice Kaul agreed with Justice Chandrachud's view that the right of privacy cannot be denied, even if there is a minuscule fraction of the population which is affected. He further went on to state that the majoritarian concept does not apply to constitutional rights and the courts are often called upon to take what may be categorized as a non-majoritarian view, in the check and balance of power envisaged under the Constitution of India. Sexual orientation is an essential attribute of privacy. Discrimination against an individual on the basis of sexual orientation is deeply offensive to the dignity and self-worth of the individual. Equality demands that the sexual orientation of each individual in society must be protected on an even platform. The right to privacy and the protection of sexual orientation lie at the core of the fundamental rights guaranteed by Articles 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution. Their rights are not so-called, but are real rights founded on sound constitutional doctrine. They inhere in the right to life. They dwell in privacy and dignity. They constitute the essence of liberty and freedom. Sexual orientation is an essential component of identity. Equal protection demands protection of the identity of every individual without discrimination. However, as the curative petition is currently sub judice, the judges authored that they would leave the constitutional validity to be decided in an appropriate proceeding. Many legal experts have suggested that with this judgment, the judges have invalidated the reasoning behind the 2013 judgment, thus laying the groundwork for Section 377 to be read down and the restoration of the 2009 judgment of the High Court. thereby decriminalizing homosexual sex. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?